Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69 and welcome back to the channel. Today we have another top 5 episode for you guys, and this is the top 5 thinking man's tank. And what I mean by that is the top 5 tanks which you have to think to play, which considers you to use your brain a little bit. And this one was a hard choice, so I've actually added both of these, and this both of the tanks that you can see on your screen at the moment, and that's the E100 and the Mouse. The reason I've added these in is because of their armor profile and the weak points of the tank. You can't just roll up into the enemy line of fire and expect to get bounces, unless you're coming up against a noob. Or just lucky bounces, lucky shots, lucky RNG, whatever you want to call it. You have to actually think, you have to angle properly, you have to know when to angle, you have to know when to make a push, etc. like that. So just because they are super heavy tanks, it really doesn't mean you can just push. You can push and bounce everything that comes your way. It requires angling. And that's why I added both of these tanks, because for me, both tanks are very, very similar with the armor profile. They both got weak cheeks, and they both really, you have to play it in a certain way to get those bounces. If you're going to look directly in front of a tank like this Mouse is doing here, then don't expect any bounces. So that is why I've added both of them tanks in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is the FV4202. Now again, the reason I've added this is because of the Hesh. You need to know when is best to use the Hesh. I mean, Hesh is love, right? Hesh, everyone loves a bit of Hesh. And in a tank like the FV4202, most people shoot nothing but Hesh because you can get away with it. There are going to be some shots that you do like 50 damage. There's going to be shots you do almost 600 damage. So the risk pays off. You have to be risky. We're going to watch his raw fatness here. I mean, look at that, only 100 damage into that Batchat. He risked it that time, it didn't pay off, but any other time he's only really going to switch to the APCR when the tank is a one shot and he can clear him. Now he sent me this the other day and it's just like, yeah dude, here's an 8k game, I'm not going to use it, you can have it. I mean, who randomly just gets an 8k game and doesn't want to use it on the YouTube channel? So you can see his raw fatness is a fantastic player, in my opinion the best in the game, and he's always looking at using that Hesh, even up against heavy tanks. Even there, just a little snapshot into the Object 140. You need to know when to use the Hesh. Relocate if you can't get that Hesh shot, because obviously using the Hesh really does pump up your DPM if you're able to penetrate the shots. You're doing, I think it's around 4.5k DPM if you manage to penetrate all your Hesh shots. Against some tanks, you don't even need to aim. I mean, this Conqueror here, bless him, he's having a nasty time there. Doesn't even want to know fatness, and fatness is just using that opportunity to smash a bit of Hesh into him. I mean, most tanks, you can pen any tank in the game. You can pen an IS-4 side on with Hesh. That's how good this Hesh is. So you can't just roll up in the tank, shoot Hesh and penetrate every single shot. You need to know where to shoot, you need to know when to shoot it, because there's times where you might get away with shooting APCR, or you might benefit from shooting APCR rather than the Hesh. Now this game, when you're using the Hesh, it really does pump up your damage so quickly. I mean, fatness now is on 6.6k damage. It doesn't feel like he's done that, but again, because of that Hesh, there we go, quick snapshot, 420 alpha into that waffle. 420 alpha, that's a low roll for Hesh, but this is a medium tank. This is a medium tank. He's now up against an E75. Now, does he stay there, shoot APCR, or does he get around him and load a bit of Hesh into the side? Of course, he's going to run around him, and one, he's going to be out the line of fire, and two, he's going to do more damage because it's Hesh. So 7.8k damage. He's going to want to get this shot. He needs one more shot the waffle is a reload. If he is able to sneak this kill, it will push him above the 8,000 damage. But of course there is the grill there. The grill's trying to go. It's literally a race against time now. Who's going to get the shot? And of course, Fatness takes the shot. 8,200 damage, and he got that because of the Hesh. If he was just using APCR that game, he probably would have finished in the 6,000s, maybe 7,000. But still, you need to think when is best to use the Hesh. Moving on. Number 3 is the Batchat. The Batchat, a light tank. Again, you need to think about what you do in this tank. You need to think it's an auto loader as well. You've got no armor, you've got the speed, but it requires thinking. Do you go, I mean, yes, we see a lot of high damage games in a Batchat. We see loads. But the Batchat, just like some super heavies, like the mouse ain't there to do damage. The mouse is there to take shots for your team. And that's the kind of it's very similar for the Batchat. The Batchat's not there to do damage. It's there to spot the enemy team and just release the clip and run away. So that's what you need to do in the Batchat. You need to know when is best to push, because you are an auto loader. You need to know when is best to relocate, or when is best just to take out and trade hit points with a tank. Now, this game, I'm absolutely getting ripped apart, so I need to get away. There is a guy chasing me here, so I'm just going to bring him in the line of fire of some of my teammates, who actually does end up helping me a little bit. So I'm just going to get out of the way now. I'm going to go on a reload, which you should do with most auto loaders. When you're on a reload, just make sure you're out of you don't get shot, because you've got a big long reload, and if people realizes that you're on a reload, they will push you and they will just farm you whilst you're on that reload. So the Batchat is a thinking man's tank. You need to think about what you're doing in a Batchat. Now, the Leopard one, I always say it, the Leopard one is I enjoy it because it is a thinking man's tank. You need to think. You can't just roll up like you do in the say a T62A. You really need to think about what you're doing in a Leopard. You've got no armor whatsoever. People are going to want to load HE at you. They love HE. If someone comes up against the Leopard 1, most of the time they switch to HE, especially if you come up sideways. You've got a lot of big guns in tier 10, so you need to pay attention to that. You need to know when's best to trade shots, when's best to run away, and when's best just to chase down the enemy, help your team, which is exactly what we're doing here. We rush back to this middle here. We realized that this Jaegeru was on his own, so we wanted to isolate him, and we're going to use the DPM of the Leopard 1. The Leopard 1 has got the best DPM of all medium tanks in tier 10, so I want to use that DPM. I want to use the range. I want to use the accuracy of the tank. Don't get too close to tanks. You don't need to be close. When you're in a Leopard 1, you don't need to get so close to the enemy team, enemy tanks. It has a great rate of fire. It has great accuracy, great aim time, and that's why I absolutely love the tank. As soon as you see that light bulb go off, you need to move. And that, using that, all those tactics in the Leopard 1, you will become a better player in the Leopard. You can't just roll up like you do in a T62, for example, or a 121, go hold down, because people are still going to penetrate you. You're going to just get absolutely ripped apart. That's not going to say, I'm not saying that you can't bounce anything. On the turret, you can actually get some troll bounces, but you can't rely on those bounces. You can't get into a position here and think, right, okay, I'm in this kind of position, I'm hold down, no one's going to be able to pen me. That's not the case. Always think that you're gonna be penned, and that's the way that's the way you should play it. Always think you're a one shot when you drive in the Leopard 1, and you'll start to do better in the tank. Now, next on the list, it's not just one tank. There's quite a few tanks, but I'm going to use the standard B, for example, because it's got no armor. But what in this one, number one, I've actually put this as number 1, but there's, as I've said, there's a range of tanks that fit this category, and that is auto reloaders. For me, that requires the most thinking. You need to think if you want to play it as a single shotgun, an auto loader, or an auto reloader. How is best and when's best to reload your magazine, and when's best just to use it as a single shot or an auto loader. So because of the auto reloading system, it really does require a lot of thinking. If there's a tank on a 4-shot, do you take 1 shot, reload that shell, and then carry on shooting the 3 remaining shells, or do you just shoot the 3 shells and then reload 1 shell to take him out? What's quicker? It's quicker just to shoot him once, reload that first shell that you've shot, and then you have 3 shells in your magazine to clear him. So auto reloaders, and I'm talking Kranwagens, I'm talking Progettos, FV4005s, tanks like this, all the auto reloading tanks, they require a lot of thinking. And I always say when I'm driving these tanks, if you've got a shot, take it. Because that shot might not be there when you reload that shell. And I'm going to stick to that. But there is times where you may need to take a couple of shots whilst you are reloading a couple of shells, because it might benefit you. So that is it, guys. Top 5 thinking man's tanks in What Blitz. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm meadsy69, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye-bye. With